ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Winner of the 2024 West Virginia Broadcasters Association Excellence in Broadcasting Award for Best Talk Show.
It is Friday, June 21st. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour is 304-396-TALK. That's 304-396-8255. We've got Coldcats baseball action coming up again tonight right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. The Coldcats losing yesterday to the Burlington Sock Puppets 10-0. Burlington started the game, scored 3 runs in the first inning on 2 hits and 2 walks against Coldcat starter Bryce Dolby. Dolby and the Coldcats did settle in a little bit during the middle innings, and from the second to the 6th inning, the Coldcats only allowed 1 run, 1 hit, 2 walks. Okay, so you're feeling a little bit better. You think, okay, this isn't going to get out of hand. Burlington would lead 4-0 after 4 innings. Okay, that's easy to come back from. Get the bats going, some smart base running. You can come back from that. Coldcats were able to get runners in scoring position in each of the first 3 innings, but that's the problem. Just couldn't convert, held scoreless, so not able to produce offense. Burlington then would just open up in the 7th. Scored 6 runs on 5 walks, 3 hits. Tied at season high in runs scored in an inning and would take that 10-0 lead after 7. And so it ends 10-0. Sock Puppets out-hit the Coldcats 6-4. That's it, 6-4. Coldcats fall to 6 and 7. Sock Puppets improve to 8 and 6. After the game, Coldcats manager Tommy Gregg talked about, well, after all, he is here to instruct these kids. He's here to teach these kids what they did wrong, and he is stressing some positives that the team had, and fielding was okay. There were some struggles with pitching, and there were some offensive problems, not getting runners home. Big problems with the Coldcats last night. Tommy breaks it down.
Yeah, I mean, the loss is a loss. It's 10-0, it's 2-1. I mean, that's the way I kind of look at it, but also look at the way we played. I mean, positively, we didn't make any errors, but we didn't pitch well. Of course, we didn't hit well. We just struggled again with men in scoring position and getting on. We chased out of the zone a little bit, and we're not making solid contact too much. So I think the guys were a little tired. It's hot out here. But there's no excuse. I mean, the other team had a 5-hour bus ride, and they came out and took BP. So, but, you know, we gave them some runs early, and they got the momentum. We just never got back into the game.
Yeah, it was hot last night. Hot for both teams. So can't use that as an excuse. Both teams had to deal with the elements, and one team had a 5-hour bus ride. Now, Tommy did talk about why the team gave up so many walks. 9 walks last night. There were 17 Ks, but 9 walks.
Guys are just trying to do too much. You know, when we're down, the pitchers come out trying to do more than they probably should instead of relaxing. A couple of the pitchers are trying to overthrow, and then all of a sudden they slowed everything down and they started throwing strikes. But with the pass balls, you can tell guys are forcing things. Pitchers are forcing things. They don't need to force anything. They just need to pitch to contact. They'll get a lot of outs if they just pitch to contact. But, yeah, we just got to relax and then, come back tomorrow and play again.
Everybody's trying to get that perfect strike. Just throw the ball where it needs to go. If it gets hit into play, let your defense do its job. One more from Tommy Gregg. Tommy did talk about what he wants out of the team the rest of this series.
Well, I just wanted to stay more focused, and when you get tired and it's hot, it's an excuse for you to kind of lay back and say, you know what, I'm tired, and then you lose your focus at the plate. Luckily, we didn't lose it on defense. We didn't have any errors, but they didn't kill the ball. I mean, I think they had 6 hits or something, but with the walks, the pass balls, we're not on time with pitches. We're taking fastballs and chasing balls out of zone, so we got to work on that.
We've got the game coming up for you tonight right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Jason Toy, Woody Woodrum will have all the action. 6:50 our air time. Last night in the Appy League, it was Danville defeating Bristol in Game 1 of their 2-game set. Bristol would get the second game, so 11-1 Danville, and then Bristol answers with a 5-4 victory. Johnson City beat Bluefield 5-2. Greenville defeated Pulaski 9-5, and Elizabethton defeated Kingsport 5-1. Same situation tonight. We've got Johnson City taking on Bluefield, Greenville and Pulaski, Kingsport and Elizabethton. And, of course, as we just mentioned, Burlington, the Sock Puppets taking on your Tri-State Coal Cats. Appalachian League looks like this. Tri-State's dropping a little bit, 6-7. Pulaski bringing up the rear. Bluefield still on top, but Burlington's tied with them, 8-6. Danville right there as well. So we've got a three-way tie. I'm sure that's going to get broken up eventually. But three-way tie. Coal Cats are right there after that, and then Pulaski dead last. West Division, Greenville leading the way, 8-5. Johnson City 7-7, and then Bristol is 7-8. Kingsport 6-7, and Elizabethton 5-9. And that's a look at what's happening in the Appalachian League as the Coal Cats continue the series tonight, tomorrow, and that game series will end on Sunday. We'll have those games all here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Well, get your text in this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We've got the show wide open for you today. So it's your text all throughout the show. We've got a couple of Marshall recruits to get into today, talk about that. Something a little bit more interesting I want to get into with you is the Sun Belt Conference preview is out from ESPN. This is Bill Conley, and doesn't look good for Marshall. Not the best review I've seen of a Marshall team in a while. Where will the Herd end up, at least in the preview? Where the Herd will end up ultimately, we'll find out. But it doesn't look good as far as the preview is concerned. What do you think? You think Marshall's going to be above the average or below the average? We'll talk about it when we continue. And, of course, your texts are welcome. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Get organized with a new Dakota Closet system on sale now. Dakota Closets are versatile and can be installed anywhere, from home offices and laundry rooms to walk-in or reach-in closets, and even kids' playrooms. Dakota Closets are available to take home today and install with just a screwdriver, giving you more time to organize. Design your dream project using our 3D closet planner. You create closet in-store or online today.
Save big money at Menards.
Giovanni's Pizza. Fresh, hot, and tasty. Have it delivered right to your door. Giovanni's, the Italian place to be.
Get into the groove. Downtown Huntington's premier weekly music event is back. It's the Mount West 9th Street Live.
Presented by New Trail, Garage Beer, Big Truck, The Beats, and Marca Prosecco, and by Matua Sauvignon Blanc.
This Friday, it's the Woodlands Retirement Community Night with a ticket to ride to 9th Street Live.
It's a celebration of the Beatles featuring the New Beats.
An entire evening of music from the Fab Four on the Marshall Health OBGYN stage. The Little Caesars Kids Zone is back, and Go Mart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe. Sit downtown Brasserie and Summit Beer Station. Mark your calendar for Friday, August 2nd when 9th Street is Dead, featuring John Ingram's Dead Center and the music of the Grateful Dead. 9th Street Live is driven by Yes Chevy, Yes Ford every Friday night through Labor Day. It's all on 9th Street in Huntington between 3rd and 4th Avenue. Sponsored by Delta Hotels, Marshall Health OBGYN, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, the City of Huntington, Marshall University, Impact Media, Xfinity High-Speed Internet, One Way Septic and Rent-A-Can, and this locally owned and operated Kindred Communications radio station.
My weekend plans were already looking good, but now they're looking pretty epic thanks to the deals at Kohl's. I just saved on great summer essentials like shorts for my whole family at $16.99 and some cute dresses for 40% off. I also saved up to 85% off clearance after an extra 50% off. And with their Buy More, Save More offer, I saved $10 when I spent $50. Plus, I earned Kohl's Cash. So take it from me. You need to get to Kohl's for epic deals ASAP. Select styles. Offers end June 23rd. Extra 50% off clearance valid through June 25th. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Coalcat Baseball. It's the hottest ticket in town. Nearly 10,000 fans have joined the Coalcats at Jack Cook Field for the team's first 2 series. You won't want to miss the next homestand with the Johnson City Doughboys and the Burlington Sock Puppets starting Tuesday. Wednesday is Dollar Dog Night. Thursday is $2 Labatt's Draft Beer Night. Sunday afternoon is Hoops Family Children Day presented by Marshall Health Network. Kids run the bases. Baseball's back. Tri-State Coalcats in town this week. Join the fun.
My weekend plans were already looking good, but now they're looking pretty epic thanks to the deals at Kohl's. I just saved on great summer essentials like shorts for my whole family at $16.99 and some cute dresses for 40% off. I also saved up to 85% off clearance after an extra 50% off. And with their Buy More, Save More offer, I saved $10 when I spent $50. Plus, I earned Kohl's Cash. So take it from me. You need to get to Kohl's for epic deals ASAP. Select styles. Offers end June 23rd. Extra 50% off clearance valid through June 25th. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Here we go. Your Friday edition continues. The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our producer this afternoon, Ben Anderson. We'll get your text in this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. So the herd continues to get bigger. Always check your social media feeds because the herd's always getting bigger. Marshall picked up a couple of recruits. Class of 2025 last night. Here's what we got. J.Cy Simmons. He's an edge player out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Class of 2025. Had some offers from Howard, Akron. Visited Marshall back on April. And he was offered by Marshall. So now Marshall's got a pickup there. And then Jalen Carter, wide receiver out of Valdosta, Georgia. He's an interesting one. He had offers from South Alabama, Army, Morgan State, Eastern Kentucky. I won't go over the entire list, but I'll just the schools that we're kind of familiar with. Navy was looking at him, Georgia State, Appalachian State, Georgia Southern, UMass, UAB was looking at him. Western Kentucky, FAU, UConn, Boston College, just not the entire list, but that's just to name a few that we're looking at Jalen Carter. He's an interesting one. He's 5'11", 185 pounds, so he's listed as a wide receiver and athlete. Maybe he'll stay at the wide receiver position, of course, with the air raid coming and Marshall getting everyone excited with all the helicopter pictures. Does that really get you excited? I don't know. If you're a recruit and you see the helicopter, does that get you excited? I don't know if it's making me excited, but I'm not the one they're recruiting right now. Still, we're going to run the air raid. We have a helicopter. We're going to run the air raid. So those are the pickups that came in as the herd continues to get bigger and better. We hope, because ESPN's put out its Sun Belt preview. Marshall did not do as well as we would like. And of course, this is from Bill Conley, ESPN. Marshall was categorized as a team just looking for a path to 6-6. Well, that doesn't fill me with confidence right off the bat. And again, take all these reports with a grain of salt. We can talk about it till we're blue in the face. I can talk about it every day until I'm blue in the face. And the only thing that matters is what Coach Huff and the Thundering Herd do on game day. But the projection is 5.4 average wins, including 3.7 in the Sun Belt. So 4 wins in the Sun Belt, 5 overall. So that means Marshall wins 1 non-conference game. Do you wonder which game that is? Take a guess. It's Ohio State, obviously. That's what it is. It's Ohio State. Marshall shocks the world, beats Ohio State. No, I think what they're alluding to here is that Marshall is going to win one game in the non-conference side of things, and that's probably going to be Stony Brook. Could you imagine we get to the point, and again, it's just ESPN talking here, but can you imagine we get to App State on October 5th and Marshall's 1-3? Where are we at? We got problems. Marshall, I think, beats Western Michigan. ESPN apparently doesn't feel so confident about the non-conference schedule, but Stony Brook has got to be a win. You lose Stony Brook, we have problems. Let's just acknowledge that right now. Stony Brook is there for a nice home opener for the fans, sort of a reunion for Marshall football fans. Haven't been together in a while. We get out there, we tailgate, we have a good time, get the win. You feel good about the season. Off and running. Stony Brook. Marshall loses that one, we got problems. But then Marshall's got to go to Blacksburg and take on Virginia Tech. Now, I thought Marshall might be able to manage 7 wins. That was sort of my lowballing this thing. But let's be realistic for a second. Virginia Tech's going to be tough. And then Ohio State's going to be tough. And so if Marshall can split and go 2-2 with this non-conference schedule, that'll be all right. Not what you want, but all right. We'll take it. We'll deal with it. But if Marshall slips and only can beat Stony Brook, and Marshall's 1-3, and we're going into the game against App State, there's trouble. Because, again, according to the analytics here, this is the Sun Belt Conference preview from ESPN. Everybody's going to have a different take. We all have takes, but Marshall's projected to win 4 games in conference, 3.7, and 5.4 overall. So, 5 wins for conference. Where are those wins coming from in conference? That's going to be the big question when we look at this. But that's the projection we got from ESPN. And, of course, things are going to change, obviously. New offensive system. Seth Dagey is going to be running that air raid. So the helicopters are going to be flying. Maybe the ball's going to be flying as well. Still don't have a quarterback that we can point to and say, there's our quarterback. That's the starter. Is it Braylon Braxton? Is it? There's going to be a lot of questions. And part of it's due to what the transfer portal means. The portal giveth and taketh away. And so you don't know what the team's going to look like. You can go through spring ball and you can go through watching the green-white game. And then everybody you watched, a lot of those kids are gone. Why is that? It's because the way the transfer portal is. Kid's not satisfied after spring, figures out that, okay, maybe I'm not fit for this place or it's not going to work out for me, whatever the reason may be, or I need to go somewhere where I can get on scholarship. I've got a shot going somewhere else. Maybe I got to drop down a division so I can get a scholarship because, believe it or not, the whole idea of playing college football is also based on getting an education. We haven't totally eliminated the college degree part of being a student athlete just yet. And so it's going to be interesting to see what this team looks like. And so there are going to be questions. There's going to be a lot of questions. Is Marshall going to slip and go 5-7? Is Marshall going to slip? Just looking for a path to 6-6 is the way you classify Marshall. Just looking for 6-6. James Madison's projected to win 6 games in conference and 9 overall. Appalachian State's looking at 8 games and maybe 5 conference wins. Coastal Carolina, they're looking at possibly 7 wins, 4 in conference. So that puts Marshall at 4th in the East. Georgia Southern, 5 wins, 3 conference. Georgia State, 5 wins, 3 conference. And Old Dominion, 4 wins, 3 conference. Not very high on the East, are they? West Division, it's a little bit better. 8 wins for Louisiana, 5 in conference. Troy, right at 8 wins as well, and 5 in conference, so there's going to be a battle there. Texas State, 7 wins, 5 conference. South Alabama, 7 wins, and also 5 conference wins. So the West, the top 4 in the West, definitely looking like more consistent teams than the top 4 in the East Division. And Arkansas State, Southern Miss, and UL Monroe, 6 and below. James Madison has a 20.6% chance to win the conference title. Appalachian State has an 18.1% chance to win the conference title. Louisiana's 14.5% to win the conference title. And then Troy just at 14.2% to win the conference title. Marshall's projected for 6+ wins, 45.3% chance to win 6+. 11 wins, no chance given. Conference title, Marshall only has a 2.9% chance to win the conference title. Again, these are metrics. This is coming from ESPN. This is their Sun Belt Conference preview. We credit Bill Conley as the originator of this report. Marshall, 2.9% chance to win the conference title. That's a tough one to swallow right there. So Marshall has a just round up, 3% chance. So really not a chance at all to win the conference title. And then maybe a 45% chance to win 6+ wins. So Marshall's going to be fighting for bowl eligibility. James Madison, Appalachian State, those are the teams that are considered to be the best in the East. James Madison has over 13% chance to win 11 games. They're guaranteed at least 6 wins. It drops off. It goes from 92.5% from Appalachian State to 10.9% for Coastal to win 6. Of course, Marshall's a little bit better there, 45.3%. Georgia Southern, 32.8%. Georgia State, 40.8%. And Old Dominion, 17.5%. So at least ESPN thinks that Marshall has a solid chance of getting 6 wins compared to the majority of the teams in the East Division. Those numbers increase in the West Division. Southern Miss and UL Monroe, the only teams that are in single digits as far as their chance to win 6+. Arkansas State has almost a 58% chance to win 6. And, of course, it goes up. Louisiana, Troy, South Alabama, Texas State, Arkansas State, all projected to be 6 wins or better in the West Division. So right there, that's 5 bowl-eligible teams. Throw in James Madison, that's 6. Throw in Appalachian State, that's 7. Everything else you don't know about just yet. So maybe the league gets 7 bowl-eligible teams. Will Marshall get to bowl eligibility? And have we got to that point where we're talking about bowl eligibility, not championships? It used to be, and Hurt fans would sing every day as loud as possible. We play for championships. Hurt fans would sing, we play for championships. And, of course, now Marshall's not even projected to win the conference title, let alone get to 6 wins. Over 45% chance, and that's it. That's where Marshall's at. So my question to you is, 1, is this about right as far as what you think the Herd's going to be able to do? Is this close to where you have the Herd? You have the Herd better than 6 wins? Do you have the Herd better than 7 wins? Where do you have the Herd at in your rankings? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 is our number. And if you look at where the Sun Belt stands as far as what ESPN thinks, Marshall doesn't even register as far as some of the best matchups this year as well. Top 5 matchups. These are conference games, and of course, they're basing it off their metrics. South Alabama to Appalachian State, number 1. Appalachian State at Louisiana is number 2. Troy's at South Alabama. That's at number 3. James Madison, Appalachian State at number 4. And then Troy and Louisiana, number 5. These are, based off the ESPN metrics, the top 5 matchups that will be competitive games, highest-ranked teams in their numbers. Marshall doesn't register a single game. Is Marshall must-see TV for ESPN if you're based it off of this? And I'm going to be curious to see, as the weeks progress, what the television flexing is going to look like. Which games are going to be put where? Are these going to be the featured games if this holds? Are we going to see Marshall maybe relegated, not as prominently featured on ESPN? Could that get better? Could that get worse? Is it going to be based on different metrics? Because after all, the Marshall brand has a lot of value to it. It attracts a lot of people. But does the Marshall brand have enough to get featured prominently on ESPN? And will the Marshall brand take a hit again? If Marshall finishes 6 or under, what does that mean for this program? If Marshall isn't bowl eligible, what does that mean for this program? If Marshall finishes 6 wins, Marshall just gets the 6 wins. Is that good enough? What's Marshall got to do then to maybe get to a point where, okay, things are on the right path, we're good, let's continue on? Where does Marshall need to be? And as a conference championship, does that factor into this season? Now, of course, again, this is just ESPN and its metrics, and things can change. The transfer portal changes everything. Week to week, we don't know what this is going to look like. Marshall could come out and just throttle the non-conference schedule, and then we're going to change our tune right away. Marshall could find a way to beat Ohio State. We change our tune right away. And the danger would be then if Marshall finds success early, can beat Virginia Tech. I'm not saying that's a gimme, but I'm not saying that's a foregone conclusion Marshall loses either. Ohio State's going to be the toughest one. If Marshall can win that game and then come back, you're going to have to avoid a letdown, obviously, against Western Michigan. That's going to be the big question. Can Marshall handle success? If Marshall can win early in non-conference, can Marshall handle success? You beat Ohio State, can you handle that success now? And can you beat Western Michigan? Okay, you beat Western Michigan. You beat Ohio State. You haven't had that emotional letdown. All right, now you've got App State, and that's going to be your biggest conference opponent. The rest of these schools, until it gets to JMU, don't measure up to me as far as App State. App State is the game I circle. For me personally, I also circle Georgia Southern because I have a little bit more of a fondness for that matchup between Marshall and Georgia Southern in the Southern Conference days. Georgia State could still be something. ULM could still be something. Southern Miss could be something. Coastal's getting interesting to me. Old Dominion has a little history to it, and then JMU. Obviously, that has turned into a rival for Marshall fans. I don't know if it's felt as strongly on the other side of this, but at least for Marshall fans, JMU's turning into that program you want to get. But if Marshall's going to win 4 conference games, according to ESPN, which ones will Marshall win? Will it be Old Dominion? Will it be Southern Miss? Will it be ULM? And possibly get one against either Georgia Southern or Georgia State? Because you'd have to factor in, okay, if they're only going to win 4 conference games, App State's going to be a tough one. JMU's going to be a tough one. I think Coastal Carolina would be a tough one. And then one of the Georgia schools. But that's just basing it off, again, this is the Sun Belt preview from ESPN. Where does Marshall rank in your early, way too early rankings? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Stop by McDonald's after the game and celebrate with a Big Mac. And don't forget those famous McDonald's French fries and an ice-cold Coca-Cola. Or enjoy a Quarter Pounder with cheese, spicy McCrispy chicken sandwich, chicken McNuggets, or Filet-O-Fish sandwich. Try a delicious hot or iced McCafe beverage. It's so much more than coffee. There's something for every appetite at McDonald's. McDonald's is a proud sponsor of Marshall Baseball. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Febreze. So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Course. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
What's up?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think you would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay, Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The Forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Winner of the 2024 West Virginia Broadcasters Association Excellence in Broadcasting Award for Best Talk Show.
Friday edition continues with the text line at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Paul Swann, your host. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. To the text line, texter says, Paul, if Marshall wins 6 or less games, Marshall's looking for a new coach. Thanks, texter. Appreciate that. You can text in as well. Again, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Back to the text line. Texter says, Paul, no way that Marshall's going to beat Ohio State, let alone Virginia Tech. But if Marshall can't beat Western Michigan, we've got problems. Appreciate that text as well. So I think it's a foregone conclusion. If Marshall does well against Ohio State and doesn't win, you're going to be disappointed, but okay. It's Ohio State. Not too many teams are going into Columbus and getting that win. Virginia Tech, I think that's a game where it could go either way. It's a possibility. It could go either way. It's going to be an early measure for what this team looks like, to be quite honest. It's the measuring stick where this team's at, because I don't think you're going to get a true gauge of what Marshall football is going to look like against Stony Brook. Stony Brook's going to be a game you feel good about. Marshall goes out, starts to work out the kinks, you get live fire, you get to play against a different opponent, and then you get the win. You're 1-0. All right, we've seen what the team looks like on the Virginia Tech. Let's go. You go down to Virginia Tech, you play well, and you think, okay, well, maybe we got something here. If you win that game, okay, maybe we got something here. And then you go into Columbus, and depending on what happens there, if you're close, it's competitive, you lose, all right, we feel all right. That's Ohio State. That's a tough opponent. Don't want to lose that one, but that's Ohio State. Then you get into the schedule, final non-conference game. It's Western Michigan. Say you win that one. All right, 3-1. That's pretty good. You lose to Ohio State? Well, a lot of teams lose to Ohio State. All right, 3-1. Let's bring on the Sun Belt and let's see what happens. And then you get into Sun Belt play, and you got to start things off with App State, and that's going to be hard. Always tough to get a win against App State. So when Marshall can get the win against the Mountaineers, that's going to be something to talk about. Text line's open. We'll go back to it in a minute. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Giovanni's has great Italian dishes. Spaghetti with meat sauce, lasagna, ravioli, manicotti, all dinners served with hot garlic bread or Italian rolls. Giovanni's, the Italian place to be.
Get into the groove. Downtown Huntington's premier weekly music event is back. It's the Mount West 9th Street Live.
Presented by New Trail, Garage Beer, Big Truck, The Beats, and Marca Prosecco, and by Matua Sauvignon Blanc.
This Friday, it's the Woodlands Retirement Community Night with a ticket to ride to 9th Street Live.
It's a celebration of the Beatles featuring the New Beats.
An entire evening of music from the Fab Four on the Marshall Health OBGYN stage. The Little Caesars Kids Zone is back, and Go Mart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe. Sit downtown Brasserie and Summit Beer Station. Mark your calendar for Friday, August 2nd when 9th Street is Dead, featuring John Ingram's Dead Center and the music of the Grateful Dead. 9th Street Live is driven by Yes Chevy, Yes Ford every Friday night through Labor Day. It's all on 9th Street in Huntington between 3rd and 4th Avenue. Sponsored by Delta Hotels, Marshall Health OBGYN, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, the City of Huntington, Marshall University, Impact Media, Xfinity High-Speed Internet, One Way Septic and Rent-A-Can, and this locally owned and operated Kindred Communications radio station.
Our Kindred Communications family of stations reminds you of the need for blood donations to the Red Cross. Blood is always needed. It may save your life or the life of a loved one. This reminder is brought to you in part by
Ratliff Pool Center, located in Gallipolis and Jackson, or visit online at ratliffpoolcenter.com. Little Caesars, home of the classic hot and ready pizza. Order online at littlecaesars.com or download the Little Caesars app. Delightfully local, delightfully fresh. Shop online at foodfairmarkets.com.
Febreze.
So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze. La 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 la.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Friday edition continues. The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our phone number this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That's the text line to be a part of today's edition of the show. Texter writes in, asks if I saw a post. It's about Coach Huff. I'm not familiar with the website. I'll check that website out. But it's a post that says that Coach Huff is number 17 on the national list of coaches who will likely be let go this year. And the texter says, I find, Paul, 5 wins to be a challenge this year. Won't be shocked if we're 1-5 headed to Statesboro. I'm praying I'm wrong. I'm going to check that website out. If it's pretty cool, pretty legit, I'll share it as well. And you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Paul Swann. But Coach Huff, number 17 on a national list of coaches that are considered to be likely to be let go this year. I mean, the pressure's on. I think the pressure's on every year, but the pressure's on because this is year 4, and we've seen this athletic director make decisions that he believes are in the best interest of the athletic department to move forward. And so if Coach Huff can't get Marshall to a bowl minimum, is a bowl minimum even the standard now? I would think beyond the bowl, obviously you want the East Division title. I don't know if that is what the metric is. Like, okay, what's the metric here to continue on with what we're doing at Marshall? Is it winning season? I don't mean 6. I mean 7, 8, 9. What's the magic number? Is it an appearance in the championship game? Is it the championship game victory? Is it that? Obviously, if you get to the championship game, you're going to get a bowl. But does it have to include the championship game? Get to the bowl, get to a championship game, maybe look at how well you do. What's the metric here? And I think that if we're looking at a schedule in which Marshall could start out 1-5, and that one being Stony Brook, and then you lose Virginia Tech, Ohio State, Western Michigan, App State, and then you get into a part. Look, Georgia Southern. Okay, let me do the math here. Marshall could be 1-4 going into the Georgia Southern game. 1-4 heading to Statesboro because you have 4 non-conference games, then the App State game before the Georgia Southern game. And App State's homecoming this year. So you lose your homecoming game, and then you got to go to Statesboro to take on Georgia Southern. And if after that game you're 1-5, what does that say for the rest of the season? Now, you look at the way that this non-conference is scheduled. Marshall could be on top of the world, or Marshall could come out of that non-conference schedule maybe a little beat up, a little dinged up a little bit, a little tested. Ohio State's going to have more depth than Marshall, tremendous depth. That's just the way it goes. Taking on a Big Ten team, of course, you got a team in Virginia Tech that you should be competitive with. But I think that's the nightmare scenario. You're going into Statesboro and you're 1-4, or if you're 2-3, does 2-3 make you feel better than 1-4? I mean, is there much difference between 2-3 and 1-4? I mean, say you split the non-conference side of things. You're 2-2, and then you lose App State, so you're already in the hole in conference, and you go down to Statesboro. I mean, does that make it feel much better? I'm not sure if it does. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I appreciate the text today. Men's Marshall men's soccer schedule's out. Tickets are available now. You can get tickets as little as $75, and you can head over to herdzone.com to find out how. They have some different options. One new option includes an additional reserve section bleacher on the south side of the stadium. Some more seats, trying to get more fans in. Marshall on the road, the first part of the season, 3 exhibition games, Notre Dame, Northern Illinois, and Winthrop. And then starting off with Cal State Fullerton, going to be at Xavier. That should be a fun one. There's a game on September 2nd against Loyola. High Point's on the schedule. They're going to be at South Carolina. Obviously, we're going into conference play at that point. VCU's at home. It should be a fun slate. West Virginia is going to be the game to end it this season, November 5th, on the regular season side. November 5th, West Virginia with a 7:15 p.m. start. So that should be a fun one for a lot of reasons. And, of course, the women's soccer schedule came out yesterday. Exhibition games at Delaware, at Drexel, and then you get underway August 15th against Morehead State. Should be an interesting schedule. Season ticket prices, $25 there, and all seating for general admission. All seating is general admission. So all prices start at $25, and seating for all women's soccer events in general admission. So there you go. That's a look at what's happening with soccer. 304-396-TALK, our text line, 304-396-8255. Coming up tonight, Game 6, Stanley Cup, 8 o'clock, Edmonton playing host to Florida. Florida leads the series 3-2, but have not been able to yet clinch the Stanley Cup after Edmonton has won back-to-back elimination games. Game 6 in Alberta. The Edmonton Oilers have never been eliminated from the Stanley Cup in Edmonton. So that should be a challenging one. And, of course, we got baseball coming up tonight from Jack Cook Field. 6:50 is going to be our airtime. It'll be the Burlington Sock Puppets and your Tri-State Coal Cats. And we'll have that game, Jason Toy, Woody Woodrum, all the play-by-play right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Back to our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says that unless Marshall can win a conference championship, it's time for Marshall to say goodbye to Coach Huff. I appreciate the texter. Thank you for that. Is that where we're at right now? As fans, if Marshall doesn't win the conference championship, do you think it's time to go another direction with the football program? Is 4 years enough? Is 4 years enough with the transfer portal being, one, a detriment to your team and also a benefit to your team? If your team can't get it turned around in 4 years, does that mean it's enough and it's time to move on? Or is there something to be said for having a little more patience and going through the process and hoping that you can turn it around? Obviously, the offensive system is going to be different. Marshall is employing the air raid. I mean, Marshall's got the flight school, all hands on deck. They got the helicopters ready to go. Marshall's got a little Air Force building up here in the Mountain State. And so, will it take a couple of years to adjust to the new system? I mean, if you see some positive results right away and Marshall doesn't win the East Division, is that still a win? If Marshall's bowl eligible, maybe 6 or better as far as the wins are concerned, still doesn't win the conference championship, is that progress in the right direction? Or is it time to say goodbye? that's what I'm hearing from some of you. It's time to say goodbye if Marshall doesn't reach a certain threshold. I'm just curious what that threshold's got to be for Marshall to say, okay, that's enough, or that's where we want to see this program going and it's in the right direction. Those are the metrics. Was it good enough this season to go the next year? Or, all right, it wasn't good enough. We don't see it getting better. We're going in another direction. Is that where we're at right now with this coaching staff? And, of course, they understand this. You know that they understand that they've got a lot of expectations on them. Nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks, you know what, we're not going to give it our best today. We're not going to try to win these football games. We like losing. We absolutely like losing. So we're not going to try our best today. No, I don't think that's I think the problem is that it's just super competitive in the Sun Belt. And there's still a lot of catch-up to be made with Marshall Athletics across the board, top to bottom. There's still a lot of catch-up. And I think you're not being honest intellectually with yourself if you think that, okay, everything's here, ready to go. I mean, there's a lot that still needs to be done from the administrative side, from the facility side, from recruiting side, from the transfer portal side, NIL, X's and O's, all of that. There's still a lot to be done, and hopefully Marshall can get it turned around. But that's an interesting report that we got from the texter earlier. One website has indicated that Coach Huff is definitely on the hot seat and will likely be let go this year. That's going to do it for this edition. Have a great weekend. I'll be back with you Monday here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Retransmitting in Glorious FM on 94.1 W227BS Huntington. This is 930 WRVC Huntington, celebrating 100 years of broadcasting.